Hello world, welcome to learning Java one byte at a time. This is the second video in a video tutorial series geared towards introducing Java to people with little or no programming experience. In the last video we gave a brief overview about what makes Java awesome, and it is awesome. And in this video we're going to walk through the installation and verification of Java as well as adding it to the system path. So we're going to start by going to our favorite browser and simply typing in Java download. This will bring up a few search results. We are looking for java.com and oracle.com. So there's two applications necessary for developing and running Java. You're going to need the JDK, that's the Java Development Kit, and this is going to be found at the Oracle website. Also the JRE, which is the Java Runtime Environment, which can be found at java.com. The JDK is the application in which you'll actually write and compile your Java code. Then the JRE, the Java Runtime Environment, is where the Java virtual machine is located. After the code is compiled into Byte code, the JVM, the Java virtual machine, is what's in charge of interpreting that and interfacing it to the particular device. So the JDK is how you write and compile your code, and the JRE is how you actually run your code for debugging and testing. So Oracle.com is the organization that currently owns and administers the Java project, which is an open source project. If you click on their page, they'll bring you up to the most recent version, which is Java SE 14. SE simply means Standard Edition. There is also an Enterprise Edition, which we will speak more about later. If you click on the JDK download link, it will take you to the page that shows all of the different versions they have available. Windows 64 is the one that I happen to need, although you may be running Mac OS or Linux or a 32-bit architecture, in which case it will be there. It will be a little bit different for Mac OS and Linux, but the differences are very subtle. If it's something that you have trouble with and are unable to Google the solution, just leave a comment down below and we'll walk through it together. If you're curious about finding out exactly what your architecture is for your computer, that can be done very easily, at least with Windows. If you go to the File Explorer and right-click on this PC and go down to Properties. This will bring up the page that shows you what your operating system and your architecture is. I'm running Windows 10 and it is a 64-bit, however yours might be 32-bit. Once you know which one you're running, you can click on the appropriate link. This will give you the executable file that starts the installation wizard. Now, for the sake of brevity, I have already downloaded this and we'll simply go through the installation, which is going to be in my downloads folder as JDK version 14.exe right there. So we'll go ahead and start that installation right away. Now, it's the publisher Oracle who wants permission to make changes to my device. I trust Oracle, so I'm perfectly okay with that. Have at it. The installation only lasts for a couple of minutes. It says that it wants to install it. I'm okay with that. There's very little need to do any modifying of the options or where it's installed, so I would just next your way through the installation wizard to get to the end. And very shortly the installation wizard will finish. It's not a very large application. Once the JDK is installed, we will jump back over here to the JRE. Right here at the very end of the installation, there's a Next Steps button. This takes you to Oracle's website where there's some much more fundamental instructions about how to get started with Java, as well as exactly what Java is and what can be done with it. Highly recommend that if you're interested, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to close out of the installation wizard and be done with it. So now that that's installed, we're going to jump back over here to our browser, and we're going to jump out of the Oracle website, and we're going to go to java.com for the Java Runtime Environment installation. Now, the JRE is available at Oracle, but they make you register with their website to download that, and I'm not interested in registering, so we're going to go to java.com, who will let you download it without registering. Here you see that the version 8 is the latest version of the JRE. It's not uncommon to have differences in the versions from the JRE and the JDK. The development kit is much more well supported. Open source software has constantly libraries being developed and bugs being fixed, so it's a much more frequently updated software. So the fact that we're running a version 14 JDK and a version 8 JRE is not a problem. As of the time of this recording, version 8 is the latest version. You'll click on Java Download. You'll agree to the terms and services, and then once again, I have already downloaded this, so for the sake of time, I'm not going to wait for the download to ensue. We'll simply go over here to my downloads folder, and you'll see we have the JDK exe. which is the development kit, and the Java Setup 8, which is the JRE, the Java Runtime Environment. This we've already installed. This one is ready to install. We'll click on that to begin that. Once again, Oracle wants permission to make changes, and I'm perfectly fine with that. This is the welcome window. We're not going to change the destination folder. We're going to change as little as possible just to speed it up. The installation process takes just a couple of minutes longer, but it's still not a very long process. And while we're waiting for this, I'll explain the point of adding it to the system path, which is what we'll be doing next. So there are two very important commands. There is a Java command and a Java C command, one command for each application. So the Java Runtime Environment needs the Java command in order to actually execute the Java bytecode. And the Java Development Kit needs the Java C command to actually compile your code into bytecode. And so each one of those commands from each one of the applications needs to be accessible from everywhere in the computer. Reason being is you might be writing some complex code that requires subdirectories, and each one of those subdirectories might have class files that need to be compiled. In order to make sure that you don't have to have that one command file in every single subdirectory, we simply add it to the system path. This makes those commands accessible from any subdirectory, anywhere on the computer, and simplifies the process. You see here Java's bragging a little bit about it running on 3 billion devices. That's certainly something to brag about. And this installation process is almost finished. Now, this being very close to being done, tells us that we have successfully installed Java, so we can close down that installation wizard and know that we have now both the JRE and the JDK successfully installed. So in order to add it to the system path, we're going to jump back over here to the This PC. This is going to be the properties, and over here you'll see the advanced system settings. Different versions of Windows and Mac OS and Linux may approach this differently, and it may be something that needs to be Googled. Again, if you run into any issues, just message me down in the comments and we'll walk through it together. After opening up the Advanced System Settings, you're going to click on the Advanced tab. Down here you'll see the environment variables. Right here are the variables. We're looking for the path. However, we're not going to be doing anything to the path variable here. We're going to come down here to the system variables. We're going to find the path here, and we're going to make an edit. We're going to be adding the two commands to the path file. And so be sure not to delete or make a new one. We're just going to come over here and edit the existing one. Right here you'll see all of the commands that I currently have in my path file, most of them for other programming purposes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a new one. And down here we're going to type just exactly as you see. We're going to do a %. We're going to type in Java underscore home with another %, then a backslash, and then bin. And so what we're doing here is we're making our own variable called Java home. The % tell the system that this is a variable of our making, and this variable is going to be something that we then reference in the actual path. And so by adding the variable Java underscore home, we're essentially following a convention, because so many different types of Java applications will be looking for this particular variable for ease of access. And then in the case that this variable is not here, it will go down the longer path to actually look for those individual commands. So just to make it a smoother process, we're going to add in our own variable called Java home, and then we're going to go define what Java home actually is. So just as I've typed right here, %Java underscore home in caps, %bin. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK to add that. I'm going to come back to the path and we're going to edit it just to make sure that it's actually in there, and as you can see we have that in there. Now if we go up here to what's now going to be, we may have to actually OK out of here and come back in here to environment variables just so that it has a chance to update. We should see the Java path in here somewhere. In fact, it may be something that needs to be, actually we're going to do a new one in the system variables itself, and we're going to make a call to that variable name that we made called Java path. So we're going to do, Java home. So the variable name is going to be Java home, Java underscore home, this time without the %, because the % were simply there to let the computer know that we were making a variable. Now we're making a call to that variable. and the variable value is going to be the path that the JDK is in. This is very commonly going to be the program files Java JDK directory. You'll want to double check, and I can show you how to do that very quickly. Otherwise, just be comfortable knowing that this is the most common way to do it. And what we're telling the computer is that everything in this directory, every command and every file, should be accessible to the path, which in turn makes it accessible to everywhere in the computer, every subdirectory and everywhere you could be. And so after having referenced the Java home variable that we made and giving it the value of this directory at this location, we're going to hit OK. Real quickly, I will jump over here after hitting OK to save that and OK to save that to show you how you can find that in the event that you did change the installation folder. You can go to your File Explorer, you'll go to your program files, there should be a Java folder, and in there is the JDK. And so if I open that, I want everything in here to be accessible. The easy way to do that is to come over here and right click and copy address. You'll see that this is essentially the same address that we typed in as the value for that variable. And so now that we have the Java home defined with the value of the path that has the subdirectory that has all of the commands that we want accessible to the entire computer, and that variable Java home defined in the path, we should be able to open up a command line and access those commands from anywhere in the computer. The way that we would do that is by going to your start bar if you're running Windows, typing in run, and in the run window we're going to open up CMD for command. Mac OS and Linux will be a little bit different, but it won't be too hard to research and troubleshoot, and if there are any issues, just message me down below and we'll figure it out together. I'm going to hit OK to open up the command, which is the command line. Here you'll see it's in the user directory, but since we have it in the path, being in the user directory shouldn't stop me from being able to access those commands. Those are the Java and the Java C commands. The way that we're going to test to make sure that they're actually in the path, that I can access them from a directory that's outside of where they're located, is by making a call to each command and calling for it to tell us what the version number is. So it's telling me right here that I'm running the Java RE, the Java Runtime Environment, version 8. So that is indeed in the path because I know for sure it's not in this directory, and it would come up with an error if it were not. Now I will test the Java C command from the JDK, and that's going to be done very similarly, Java C -version to make a call to its version number, and you can see it's coming up with Java C version 14. So both the JRE and the JDK are in the path. Both of these commands are accessible from anywhere in the computer, and it looks like not only the installation, the verification, but also the path addition is working perfectly. So now that that's done, in the next video we will begin to build our very first program, a Hello World program, which is the conventional program that every programmer builds the first time they're learning a language to demonstrate their initial proficiency. I look forward to seeing you back then. Questions or comments are welcome, and thank you so much for watching this. Have a wonderful night.